We are so excited to share with you the details and the energy behind SSH 102, the summer intensive called both Learning and Development Strategies and the Thriving in Action program. We call it both. And so in either case, we're really delighted you're here, and we're hoping that you'll join us this summer and beyond.
Well, welcome. So first of all, congratulations. Congratulations on your graduation if you're coming straight from high school, or congratulations and welcome to Ryerson if you've been doing a gap year or something else before now. And we're delighted that you're here to be part of Faculty of Arts. So we're going to just start off by introducing ourselves and then give you ultimately an opportunity to introduce yourselves to each other. So my name is Diana. I'm known as Dr. Diana Brecher. Everybody calls me Diana. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a clinical psychologist and co-instructor for the course, SSH 102, and I started the Thrive RU program, and together with Deena created the Thriving in Action program. So I wanted just to start off by saying welcome.
So my name is Dr. Deena Shaffer. Please call me Deena. My pronouns are she and her. Where to begin and keep it brief. I've been at Ryerson for 8 years. I guess the first 3/4 of that time, I was a learning specialist with our Disability Services Office, or Access Center at one time it was called. Now it's called Academic Accommodation Support. So for students living with disabilities who are using support and facilitation in some of those accommodations, that's where I worked. Prior to that, I was a high school teacher for a number of years. And in the most recent part of my time at Ryerson has been in total delight, co-creating with Diana the Thriving in Action program. And we'll share more of that, but to put simply, it is a combination of positive psychology. So that's really Diana's, part of Diana's really extensive background. And then my own in learning strategies, so how to learn well. So really you can think about it as how to live well and how to learn well. And we've been very lucky because of how resonant that has been for students. A year ago, it was turned into a 4-credit course. And since it's now offered as a really tremendous and innovative incoming transition program, and we have about 170 students already signed up, and we hope that you're either already registered or will after today. And we're so happy to meet you by Zoom chat, and let's do a little bit more of that.
And so before we jump into the breakout room, I realized I didn't tell you what Thrive RU is and really what my background is. So I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm going into my 30th year of working at Ryerson in September.
Woot, woot.
And for the first 25 years, I worked as a counselor in our counseling center. I was the director of the counseling center for 17 of those years. I'm faculty in the psychology department. And I became very interested in positive psychology about 5 years ago. And what I've done is I've created a resilience training program for students, faculty, and staff on campus. And it's really that resilience program that I'm bringing to this context. So before we get into anything else, we want to give you an opportunity to meet with each other in small groups in breakout rooms. So breakout rooms, if you're not familiar with it, is something that the host orchestrates. You land in with random students. You have an opportunity to chat. We're going to give you a specific task, and then you'll be pulled out again. So this is your task. I want you to imagine that you're walking down a street in an unfamiliar city, and you run into, just completely by chance, a long lost friend, someone you haven't seen in several years who you were very attached to. I want you to greet one another in your breakout rooms with the same enthusiasm and warmth that you would that long lost friend, and tell them each something wonderful that has happened to you recently, despite everything. So Deena's going to put you all in breakout rooms, and you'll have a couple. Welcome back, everyone. We're delighted you're here.
And what a great kind of initial experience, perhaps for some, around breakout rooms, because that's going to be part of your online experience. Thanks, Diana, for the feedback. If it was tricky, not to worry. There's going to be lots of practice. If you did breakout room hopping, that's because you were being placed into rooms in case there wasn't enough people in the room you were in. So that's bound to happen, especially with a big group. We were really trying from the back end to make sure that everyone was in a robust group. So
Okay.
thank you.
It's great you had fun. I'm so glad you did. We're now going to launch into the rest of the program. So stick with us.
And Mariana, not to worry. It's just practice. It's just practice. Okay.
So we want to just basically tell you why this matters so much to us, why we developed this course and this program to start with the Thriving in Action. It really comes down to this. Deena and I both worked with students for a long time, each in our own departments, counseling for myself, accessibility for Deena, with students who are struggling. And we got a really close and clear understanding of the kinds of issues that students have and why school can be challenging. And what we wanted to do is to front load all of the skills and all of the approaches and attitudes that you might find helpful so that you find you love being a student and that school is fun and challenging and interesting and engaging. And so we've put together this program with really that in mind.
And then we want to add the layers of what it's like to be learning right now. So add to those already existing pressures a whole new realm of them. So as you might already be experiencing screen saturation, everything is more online than ever. There's often little or no movement between courses. It's not like you're at one end of the campus and then you walk and you kind of get to process and chit chat with people to another one. Often things are back to back, but you're sitting in the same place. Many of us are experiencing financial and job precarity. There's a lot of worry about health. Perhaps some folks are already experiencing loss, grief, bereavement, or triggers of prior loss. There's isolation and loneliness for students or families who are living in kind of alone or in, just a couple people. Or there's like mine, where I've got 2 small kids and I am never alone. And that comes with its challenges too. There's navigating online relationships. There's the collective trauma of COVID stress and how we're having to be sort of vigilantly navigating our space and how we move through our neighborhoods. There's distractions, the number of times Diane and I have been in meetings with each other or with others, and then the doorbell rings, or then a kid walks in, or something else happens, or partner asks a question. Internet access, instability and reliability. Know that your professors are working hard to try to find ways, because we know this happens. At least 5 times this summer, I have been booted off in the midst of teaching or training with Diana, 2 times because of the power outages, because of thunderstorms. So we know that it can happen. Then there's also the extra layer of online studying, what it means to be an independent learner more than ever. There's all kinds of intersecting pressures, barriers, and layers. The world is mirroring that back to us. There's unsiloed competing demands. Our spaces are often full of multiple people, multiple projects all going on at the same time. And then there's the global context. This is still not even a complete list, but we do want to name it because it also goes into why we're doing what we're doing in trying to help students learn in a more sustainable and healthy way.
So we really think about this course as about Wellbecoming. So it's about learning how to take breaks from hours on end with digital technology. And it's about learning to reconnect with yourself and other people. So we have a whole program called Active Wellbeing, which we'll be telling you about. We want to teach you strategies to inner resource instead of outsource everything. Using your breath and your body to regulate your emotions and your emotional state. Learning how self-compassion can be so important, particularly when we make mistakes. And we're going to be talking about how to reframe what a mistake really is and what purpose it serves. And we're going to be talking about practicing hope and coping and uplift, how to be still and motivated and energized and grounded, engaging with kindness and with rest, and how to manage that cognitive overload when you feel like your brain is just fried, and decision fatigue, which is actually a real thing. It's when we make too many small decisions and there's no bandwidth left for the big ones. And how to set really good and healthy boundaries for self-care. And so all of this is part of what we're teaching you while we're teaching you a curriculum alongside it. So they're together.
So what is all this going to look like? We know it's an unusual course. We've fought for it to be an unusual course. We've architected this to be an unusual course on purpose. So to put it simply, it's 3 days, 3 summer days, August 19th, 20th, and 21st. And in that time, they are good, rich, long days that are the beginning of really bridging into what it means to be a post-secondary student, an art student, a Ryerson student. So we think of those as 3 days to introduce. And then there's a kind of in-between time right after that intensive, where you've made some connections, you've started your journey, and right before the your kind of first week into the semester. So we're thinking of those of 3 weeks, and 3 weeks to really immerse in an independent way, totally guided. We're going to guide all of that for you. And then 3 months where we will meet weekly and continue integrating all that you've come to learn and integrate it with the rest of your courses. So let's go into the details a little bit further. What are those 3 days going to look like? So you're going to hear some of these words a lot. Synchronous. Synchronous means at the same time. And we are going to offer those synchronous teachings online, but also offline as well, some curated activities, meaning chosen activities, as well as some small group discussions. That means we start at 9:30 every day and we go to 4, and there are times where we're online live, and there are times when you're offline doing stuff that we have arranged for you to do.
So we've kind of split these 3 days into 4 areas. So plan, practice, persevere, and propel. And so each day, on the first day, we're going to focus on planning, on the second day on practicing, on the third day on persevering, and propelling, which is really our career-related curriculum, is going to be at the end of each of those 3 days. So this is what it looks like, or the topics that are associated with each of these larger areas. So in terms of planning, we're really looking at healthy habits for sustainable success. So it's anything from mindful time management, note-taking, how to create a new habit, what's the role of willpower, how important is sleep in your life. When we talk about practice, we're talking about managing and succeeding academically. So what role does optimism and hope have as a student? How can you study efficiently and advocate for yourself and take tests in a way that feels really empowering? How do you take in and integrate feedback from your profs? And what does it mean to cope in a really productive way? And then there's persevering. So we're going to talk about what are our deepest character strengths? How do we utilize them in group work, for example? Tapping into gratitude, growth mindset, awe, and curiosity. And it's really about how you know yourself and work with others and stay motivated. And to propel, it's really about how to start thinking about and move towards a really energized career in your chosen field of arts. So really to plan for that satisfying, inspiring career.
So then what are the 3 weeks going to look like, that, the in-between? So here's another word you're going to hear often, asynchronous. Asynchronous means we've said you need to do and listen to and watch this, a bunch of stuff each week, but you're going to choose when. It's not going to happen necessarily at the same time as your classmates. So in an asynchronous way, you're going to read articles, you're going to listen to podcasts, you're going to watch some videos, and you're going to craft some excellent and really joyful assignments.
And then during the 3 months, and just to let you know, this course is your standard 36 hours, but divided very differently. So it's 18 hours in the first 3 weeks, and then it's 6 hours on your own in the next 3 weeks, and then it's 12 hours during the academic semester. So during the fall term, you'll have much less time that you'll need to devote to this course because you have already studied quite a bit and done a lot of the assignments. So during this fall semester, you're going to meet with us for 1 hour a week. And we're going to be guided by a program that Deena and I created called Thriving in Action Online, which is an online resource. And we're going to move through this class each week by doing a check-in. We're going to give you short lectures. We're going to have small group breakouts and discussions about these weekly readings. Many of them are on the online resource. And this is Thriving in Action Online. And the guiding question that helped us create it was, how can I learn to love being a student? We wanted to be able to help you to answer that question.
Those are some of the topics that you'll see. Each week we'll have a theme that's pulled right from Thriving in Action Online to keep it really clean and clear as we move through the fall semester together. So things like attentiveness, healthfulness, open-heartedness, skillfulness, and so much more. So if we go back to, okay, wait, what is this course again? It's 3 days, those immersive course to introduce, 3 weeks to immerse, 3 weeks to integrate. And if we take it all together, what are we going to do? What are we going to practice? And what are we going to learn? So here's, again, some and still not all. It is a lot of fun and very, very rich. Now, we've taught Thriving in Action, this SSH 102 in the winter, and wanted to share with you what our just now students who have just finished this course in April, May, what they had to say. So one said, I could not have asked for a more eye-opening, relatable, proactive, and supportive course to take this semester. I truly believe this course will help me thrive in more ways than one, and I can't thank you guys enough. What we say to ourselves matters. Saying things like, I can always improve instead of I will never improve is far more productive. Curiosity questions have allowed me to shift my frame of mind, get out of my rut in classes and activities I don't necessarily enjoy. I actually feel like my grade is growing through this class. I'm willing to fail and make mistakes and learn from them.
Each time you relapse, it's okay. Learning and growing in the cycle change makes relapse shorter and less devastating. Growth takes time. One thing I don't do anymore is make myself feel bad about not being able to work perfectly. Instead, I think I can do this, and it's not that hard, and it's work, but work I already know how to do. Since then, I haven't felt stressed all week. I've learned that we need to make mistakes and that they are essential to our well-being. Whenever I make a mistake now, I'm going to be tempted to try harder because I know that mistakes are essential for growth. Who knew exercise could benefit us in so many ways? Thinking back to the active well-being exercise I've done, my mental well-being skyrocketed. I immediately developed a positive outlook and my stress levels decreased.
I dug deep and decided to tackle it and break it up into smaller, more manageable pieces. So somebody working through overwhelm. And the last one we'll share with you is thank you for teaching me that just because I'm a university student, I do not have to exhaust myself to the point that I'm overlooking my health. Through this class, I've learned that it is possible to have both good grades and be healthy. But you have to take this course to learn how to. This course should be mandatory for first-year students. This, for us, is the greatest feedback. It is humbling and motivating. And so we are so excited to have the opportunity to share it with you. A cohort of folks who've had, many of you have had a really interesting, complicated, and disrupted end of high school. So we're really excited.
So I want to start off by talking about resilience, which I mentioned earlier is really the thing that keeps me going. So in my years working as a counselor, I thought about what most of the students that I worked with seemed to have in common. And they each had lots of different things that were very separate and unique to them. But they had certain things that, if we talked about a profile of struggling, it would be the following: that they found it difficult to be in the present moment. They often felt like time travelers to me, worrying about the future, ruminating about the past, but not really being present. They tended not to be aware of the good things that are happening in their lives, and they tended to explain things from a very pessimistic lens. And they were often very self-critical and hard on themselves. and they had a tendency to give up when feeling overwhelmed. So when I wanted to think about resilience, I wanted to address each of these separately. So I thought about teaching mindfulness, gratitude, optimism, self-compassion, and grit. And so much of what I'll be teaching in this course relates to these topics and some of the other things you saw on our earlier slides. And so when we talk about resilience, we're talking about these as interconnected pieces that seem to relate to each other with mindfulness at the heart of it.
So I created what I call 5 features of wide awake learning, which is not nearly as concise or elegant as Diana's, but it tries to articulate something about what is possible in terms of learning. And not just passively letting it happen to you and kind of being battered around by the various winds and conflicts, but instead, how do we, with eyes wider open, step into our education and choices around our learning? So I think of this as comprising 5 pieces. One is a belief in practicability. So no, it does not mean that we're all going to become expert essay writers, but it does mean that if we're struggling, we can, through practice, improve. Perhaps even more meaningfully, I like to think about it as, if I'm having struggle, for example, with paying attention in class, that it's not just I throw up my hands and say that's it, but I can have hope because there are ways to improve things like the ability to concentrate. And so, right, let's move into attention restoration is core to my belief about learning, and what I teach, the learning strategies I teach in this course, is how to improve your ability to focus. I think all of us struggle with distractedness, fragmented focus, and I give students ways to begin to reclaim some of that so they can pay more attention and move through the task at hand. Next is a priority of well-being or being well, not as at the end of the day, or not, I spend time on my well-being the weekend or during holidays, but in fact, that it's not a nice to have, but a necessary, and can be integrated with your academics, and in fact comes first. And from that, greater academic success can follow. Next is connectedness. So all the strategies connecting with one's own body, connecting with one's own capacities, connecting with other people, friends, making relationships, building rapport, how to connect with professors, TAs, and build those kinds of relationships, how to connect with my chosen faculty and department and feel connected to what it was that I was dreaming about when I applied, connecting to my neighborhood, connecting to the larger web of life, so sort of ripples out of connection. And lastly, agency, meaning I can make happen what I want to have happen. I don't just have to have it in my mind as an intention, I can enact my intention. So what has counted as a learning strategy in the past? Some of you might know these things. Time management, note-taking, hacks to read. Sometimes people think about speed reading or things like that, studying and test taking and essay writing. And none of that's wrong. Those are learning strategies, sure. What we're trying to offer are health-promoting learning strategies. So in other words, sustainable, meaning not just how do I get through this day or this week, but how do I make it through the semester and not just collapse into feeling unwell or burnout in the end. So this is going to mean holistic, it's equity driven, it's integrative, meaning it's not just something that comes separately, but is part of the academic journey. Pendulating means I know how to deal with stress and be all the way on and perform and achieve at my highest, and also how to bring myself back down. Peak performance, so really learning what it means to kind of have that optimal in the zone. What does it take to really be on and activated? Challenging, nice to have. So what we think of as luxury, we're gonna disrupt that. Sustainable, as I say, meaning you can do it over time, and it's embodied. So we're not just using our bodies to carry around our brains to do more reading, but in fact, our bodies are part of our learning experience. So let's offer you some. Some of you won't be able to, or don't want to, or have conflicts in taking the SSH 102 course. Okay, but let's still try to offer you something as you begin your journey in a few weeks. So we call these mind, body, heart, spirit, thriving and learning strategies. So right from the get-go, we'll talk more about this in class, but unitasking. Let's drop that there's any possibility to do multitasking. All multitasking is toggling our attention between tasks, not actually doing them at the same time. So what we get really good at is that pivot. I can do this, and then I can do that, and I can do this, and then I can switch my focus. That's not actually helping us move through the task. Now, because these slides are going to be shared, we're going to leave this little teaser, this wonderful video that you can watch after, really making light of, but driving home the point to do one thing at the time that you're doing that one thing.
So I want to talk to you about something called the 15-minute rule. And this is when you have a plan of some sort, but when the time comes for you to do it, you really don't feel like doing it. So maybe it's to go to the gym, or maybe it's to sit down and do some work, whatever it is. And so the rule is this, that you simply say to yourself and negotiate in a way, I'm going to give myself the first 15 minutes. I'm going to show up and be present for 15 minutes. And if at the end of that 15 minutes, I don't feel like staying or staying with the task, I'm free to leave. But I'm going to give it my best shot for the first 15 minutes. And what often happens is that we make really good plans in theory, and when the time comes, we don't feel like doing it. And so instead of giving into that feeling, stick with your plan and let it actually unfold. And when you do, oftentimes what happens, it really sticks, and then you stay with the plan. The other thing I want to talk to you about is about habits and how we create new habits. And there's a prof at Harvard, his name is Sean Acor. He talks about something called the 20-second rule. So if you want to stop doing something that you think is not productive or it's not good for you, insert an obstacle between you and that thing that would take you 20 seconds to unravel. And what it does is it makes it a little bit harder for you. It creates a little bit of friction between you and that thing, and you're less likely to do it. And similarly, if you want to start doing something, remove the first 20 seconds of obstacles between you and that activity, and you're much more likely to act on it if there's no friction between you and that activity. So if you want to start running first thing in the morning, you might want to start sleeping in your running clothes, as an example.
So we talk about BRAC. BRAC stands for Basic Rest and Activity Cycle. So most of you will have heard that there are cycles to sleeping. Some of you might know REM, things like that. And we talk all about sleep. We will a little bit today, but certainly we dive into sleep, particularly sleep as a learning strategy in this course. But did you also know that those same cycles occur over and over during the daytime as well? There are 90-minute cycles, and the first hour we're pretty good. We're pretty energized. We have likelier chance of sticking with the task at hand, whatever it is we're trying to move through, writing something or reading something or solving something or researching something. But the last half hour of that 90-minute window is often a little bit dreamier, harder to pay attention. We might be reading and rereading that same passage, perhaps for the 10th time. And what we teach students is to really tap in, notice, connect with that feeling, and do something differently. So instead of bringing layers of shame, and I should be doing, this, or I should push through, or what's wrong with my attention? Why can't I do this? We have students do something entirely different. So either to move their bodies or to harness and tap into that dreaminess, that final 30 minutes of that BRAC 90-minute cycle, and do something creative. Perhaps that's when you do your creative brainstorming. That's when you do your stand up and you've got your Post-it notes or a whiteboard in your room and you begin to generate ideas. But it's just so important to really name that that cycle is happening without your conscious decision. So why not go with it instead of fight it?
So as Deena mentioned, sleep can actually be part of your learning strategy. And the reason for that is very simple. When we are sleeping, we go through different cycles of sleep. There's light, there is deep, and there is REM sleep. And so when we first fall asleep, it's often light sleep, and that's when we kind of clear away all the unnecessary information from the day before. Deep sleep actually helps us to consolidate what we've been learning. So if you've been studying all day and you need to know it for the next day for an exam, the best thing you can do for yourself is get a good night's sleep, which will allow you to have as much deep sleep as you need, and that will help you integrate and remember and really be able to use that information in a really profound way. When we have REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, which usually happens when we're sleeping, when we're dreaming rather, it provides insights and creative solutions to things. We often come up with really innovative ideas when we're in our REM sleep.
Now, did you want to share this little nugget?
Yes. So one of our students, who is a journalism student, put together a study in 2017 where she orchestrated asking lots of Ryerson students, it was about 1,500 students. This is what they're saying to us, that 5 in 6 say that lack of sleep is affecting their productivity at school. And so it may be that during a pandemic, people are getting more sleep than they would not normally, but many of our students don't have good sleep hygiene. They don't have a regular time that they fall asleep, the same number of hours each night, etc. And you'll be learning more about this if you take our course, but the idea of using sleep as a learning strategy and staying healthy because your sleep is going to have so many positive impacts on you is something really worth learning about.
And it's one of the most powerful lessons again and again each time we teach it, because students are often given the image that they're meant to be exhausted, walking around tired out of their minds. But in fact, by being well rested and fitting in the work around a priority of sleep, they do so much better, really in so very many ways. We talk lots about sustainable studying or efficient and effective studying. Why? Because often students are spending 3 times too much time on inefficient strategies, which means there isn't the time to play or rest or connect with others, and they're not achieving what they want. They're not really getting what they want out of their tests, and they're saying, wait a minute, I put in all these hours and I'm not doing very well. So we really demystify all of that. But in case we don't ever see each other again, and I hope that's not the case, but if we do, I just want to point out 2 key parts around some of the research. That's really my interest, is research around learning strategies or how to learn well. If you were to look, let me see if I can put on a pointer here. If you were to look at the low utility here, so things like rereading or highlighting and underlining, or perhaps even rewriting our notes or summarizing them. Those sometimes make us feel really good. Hours can go by. In fact, we could put on the music, make it real pleasurable, and wow, look how productive I am. Sadly, very little is happening. If we look at high utility, so the most worth your time, we can see that practice testing, which means taking the types of questions that you're likely to be asked, and distributed practice, meaning practicing over time, so no cramming, that these are the most bang for your buck in terms of studying. We talk all how to do this, but just to say, students might then go, well, my prof or my TA didn't give me any practice questions. Well, remember, we talk about wide awake features of learning. One of them is agency. That's okay, make your own. So we talk all through how you can make your own test. Or wait a minute, my test is upcoming. I don't have enough time to distribute that practice. Oh yes, you do, and we can talk about why. So just know that if we don't see each other, this is where to spend your time if you want to do better and better on those tests. And this is where to let go of, even if it feels productive. Unfortunately, it really isn't.
So earlier we talked about resilience and self-compassion around making mistakes. So I want to introduce or suggest a way of thinking about mistakes that's a reframe. So what if mistakes meant, it means I start to acquire knowledge, experience, and skills. So rather than being radioactive and something that you want to avoid at all costs, what if the attitude towards mistakes was something that you kind of welcome and say, I'm going to learn from this experience. And that can become a very productive way to approach studying. And we're going to be talking more in the course about this and something called growth mindset, which goes beyond just studying, but to all kinds of experiences in our lives.
So we also talk a lot about stress management and coping, and we do all kinds of ways to mitigate stress and overwhelm. So for example, we do something called triangle breathing, and we won't go into it right now. I'm just cautious of time, but we give lots of different strategies of, what if you're trying to make an appointment with somebody, or you're reaching out to a friend, or you want to connect with somebody and they're not available. It's after hours, or there's no available appointment. What can I do to help regulate my own ability to cope and be well? And so one of them, here's an example of triangle breathing, where we breathe in as the shapes expand, and we exhale as the shapes constrict. Really helpful, the anchoring image. We have an image that we can watch going out and in. So instead of just saying, well, breathe, well, part of the job of thriving in action, or this SSH 102, is that we don't give generic verbs. So we're not interested in saying, well, you should prioritize more, you should just learn to manage your time, or you should concentrate better. We're not interested in that, because those just add extra layers of confusion and shame. So when we talk about, what would it mean to take a calming breath? Here's exactly what you could do. And we can talk about, if it's difficult for folks, what alternatives are. So this is just one example of many, many, many. So here's another one called box breathing. And so this one quite simply asks us, and we'll start it in a moment, at the top left corner. So this has us breathe according to a count. So we'll inhale for a count of 4. We can follow the image there, and then we hold it. And then we'll exhale for a count of 4. And again, we hold it. And we might do 10 rounds of this. We do many, many breathing and movement practices even within the course, accessible no matter what injury you might be working through. And so we do this to have more and more in your own toolbox, your growing toolbox, as you start and move through your academic journey, of how to cope when things feel crunchy or difficult. Here's another one we can try right now. If everyone were to take their hands, their palms together, and our fingers with light space between them. And if we inhale there for a moment, and then as we exhale, we shift our fingers over and lightly clasp. We raise our fingers up, inhale. And then exhale, clasp the other way. Inhale, fingers up. Exhale. And we can go so on and so forth. 3 very, very simple things that you already now have in your coping toolbox.
When I talked about the 15-minute rule earlier, what's kind of connected to it is this idea of following the plan, not your mood. So when you make plans, and you made them in good faith, and they seemed like a really good idea at the time, stick to those plans, and don't let your mood in the moment influence what you end up deciding to do. Because oftentimes when you get involved in the plan, your mood will shift, and it's trusting that you made a good choice in the first place.
Students fall in love with that line. And it's actually a mantra that I carry with me too. So the last strategy we'll give you today is just a sense of the bigger picture. So Diana talked about propel being the 4th kind of type of activity, or like a constraint or theme to those 3 intensive days. And one of them is around career, so that you feel hopeful and excited and energized about your future career in arts. So here's just a little thing that you can try in these interim days and weeks, something called Ikigai. And so you can see here a playful, joyful exercise that if you were to have this circle on the left here, and you focused on what are you good at, just making a list, a bullet point list. And then in this circle up here, you just begin with, what do you love? Not thinking anything more than just, what do you love doing? What do you love spending your time? Hear what the world needs. And then lastly, what can you be paid for? And then you begin to do some overlaps, like, interesting. If I look at what I'm good at and what I love, this intersection is a passion. So what are the bullet points there where there's intersection? And then the overlap between what you love and what the world needs might be a sense of a mission. Okay, likewise, between what the world needs and what you can get paid for is a vocation. So a kind of career with purpose. And then here, what can you be paid for and what are you good at? Okay, a profession starts to emerge. And then you begin to look for the overlaps and overlaps and overlaps and overlaps again. And in the middle, perhaps a couple of clear directives might come for you. This is a Japanese word, reason for being, a kind of purpose mission. And it can be really fun and illuminating. And, you know, for some students, it might add a lot of clarity. For other students, it's just a light guide. But we have lots of students enjoy engaging in these kinds of activities with us. What are the other cool things we're going to learn about in this class? Using nature to restore focus. We share some of the research behind this. All of these, you know, if students are, if any of you are thinking, whoa, wait a minute, this is a bit woo, all of this is actually deeply evidence-based, not to mention Diana's, you know, 3 decades at Ryerson as a senior clinical psychologist, and my own background of 15 plus years working with students with disabilities and mental health issues, and both of our research backgrounds. Using mindfulness practice to manage stress and much more.
And we integrate mindfulness and meditations into our curriculum and invite students to experiment and play with it. And we also talk about using breath and the body to cope as a coping strategy to deal with any kind of worry or feeling of being overwhelmed. And so we're giving you, we hope, lots of strategies that will help you not only in this course, but in all your courses throughout all your years as a student.
One of the things we're most excited about is our partnership with the recreation folks on campus. And you will have not just the opportunity, but you will move on purpose and have private fitness classes and engage in movement as a way to keep motivated, energized, well-rested, uplift mood, you know, stress kind of a little bit under control. So we're very, very excited about that.
And one of the assignments for SSH is to do a 2-minute TED-like talk, which you record and upload as an assignment. And we're going to just share with you a couple of our students, obviously with their permission, about what was the impact of the active well-being assignment on their academic thriving. Deena, no sound.
Thriving assignment that we've been assigned. I'm actually in 5th year. I'm not in 1st year, but I would love it if someone had told me in my 1st year to really put importance on exercise, going out in nature, and meditating, especially if you suffer from anxiety and depression like myself, because it really makes a difference on your academics, and not only your academics, but also your well-being, your life, everything. For me, just my academics alone, this semester has been the best semester I've ever had in regards to marks. I'm able to be more focused. I'm able to be more confident, which is very big for me. I'm able to interact more with the teacher, with the students, ask questions in class, be more attentive in group projects and work with students, and able to use my voice a lot more and be confident in what I'm saying. I'm able to have so much more motivation than I had. I used to just wake up and hope that I'd have it that morning. But now if I go to the gym and come back into my room and I'm ready to study, I have that energy and that motivation to do it. It's kind of like a boost every time. And another thing with that is I'm able to feel more accomplished. So if I'm having a bad mental health day, which I do have sometimes, if I go to the gym and if I come back, at least I have that basis. So then I can say, okay, well, we did that for our bodies and that's great, but how about we do a reading? And like, you know, it's sort of a basis to help me get out of that funk that I'm in. Another thing is sleep is a huge thing that's changed and helped me academically. I wake up earlier. I want to work on school things. I want to make the most of my time rather than, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to skip class, or I just don't feel up to it because I'm tired, I want to have a nap. Like now, if I come back, if I go to the gym this day and then I go to sleep, I sleep for so much longer, and it really makes me more energized for the next day. But yeah, that's everything that's helped me in my academics.
Okay.
Just wanting to make sure we've got time.
Because you'll have the slides, you're welcome to watch two other fantastic students talk about their experience with some of the healthful activities that we do in SSH 102. Diana, you're on mute.
So I've been kind of looking at the chat every once in a while, and there have been some questions about this course and how it works and everything. So this is a course that starts in August, runs through the fall term. It will be considered one of your 5 courses. We would love to have you join us. You need to register by August 18th, so you still have some time. And this is the moment where if you have questions about this course or anything that we've talked about today, we have a few minutes before the end where we'd be happy to answer.
And I'm just wondering, the kind folks who have hosted us today, are they able to stick around for some of the more general questions? And if anyone, just noticing time and wanting to honor everyone's time, if anyone had any specific questions about SSH 102, because that's how Diana and I are going to be most helpful. Anything to do with content, anything to do with the structure of the course, or the approach. So the registration, all we need to do to fill out the Google form. My understanding is that you would still, Diana, are they going to transfer those names over behind the scenes?
I believe so, because you can't register for RAMs through RAMs in time. So do fill out this form if you're interested. So far we have over 160, I think maybe 170 students. Many of them first-year students, but not exclusively. So it's a mix of students in the class, which is always nice because you'll have people with a lot more experience than you who you'll be your classmates.
Great question about textbooks. No, we provide all the readings for you. So there will be no cost to you, and they will be within the D2L system. So not to worry about that.
And D2L is our learning platform. It stands for Desire to Learn, and all students will have access to it in all of their courses.
Chris, I'm not sure that we're going to be the best folks around how to get textbooks in general, especially we would know if this were not a COVID year, but that's going to be a really good question for your kind of enrollment ambassador team here. How long will we have to spend daily on the course to complete it on average? Yeah. So the 19th, 20th, and 21st, those 3 intensive days, it's 9:30 till 4. It's not at all straight. We do 20-minute lecture, we do community check-in, we do go off and walk and listen to a podcast, come back and do this. So all of these pieces. So there are 18 hours there spent over 3 days. And then we have that 3-week interim between the end of that intensive and before you're really all full swing into your semester. And we have guided activities, and we do, there's some assignment pieces and there's some listening pieces. And then we will meet once a week for the duration of the semester. And if you came late, we go through all of this and you'll be given this recording. So not to worry, it's all laid out here. No, there's no exam. Yes, this is a full credit course with assignments. There will be formative assignments to get you going, kind of get your feet wet. There will be one assignment, a kind of small to medium length assignment for each of those 3 weeks after the intensive ends and before the semester. Then you will have this active well-being kind of movement-based assignment that's ongoing over time, and there will be a major capstone paper that we've created bi-weekly milestones to help you move through. So if procrastination has ever been a thing for you, we give you strategies and milestones to move through it. And not just that, it's a strategy then you can apply to all your other courses.
And this course, there's no cost for this course. So the university really is so invested in your success that they want to make sure that if this is of interest, then you will take this course. There is no barrier. You don't have to worry about OSAP or any of that because it starts in the summer. There are all kinds of complications around OSAP. And so they're basically saying there's no extra cost to take this course, but it counts for your transcript and for your degree. Any other questions?
Please don't be shy. Oh, there's another. During the course, are there Zoom calls every day? Great question, Ryan. For the 3 intensive days, yes. We know that that's going to be tough for some folks. We will be recording the lectures. It will be way easier if you can join us for those live lectures, but we also are lecturers and profs who are guided by accessibility, and we know things come up. Any number of things come up, so they will be recorded if you need to catch up on a couple of them outside of those 3 days or the hours that we are live together. During the 3-week interim, no, there are no Zoom calls. And yes, when we're in the semester and have this weekly check-in community building, yes, we're back to Zoom again. So in a way, yes for the intensive, the 3 days, no for the 3 weeks, and yes for the semester.
And I wanted to add something that might not be explicit right now is you're actually going to have under your belt before the other 4 courses start, a considerable, almost, I don't know, something like 22 hours of the course already done in the summer, and some of your assignments already done. So you could be intentionally lightening your load in the fall term by taking this over the summer and continuing it over time in the fall. That would allow you to really consolidate what you're going to be learning. And I see a question, will all the class be online? Yes, the university is not holding in-person classes in the fall semester. I also wanted to mention that we're going to be teaching this course again in the winter, not as an intensive, but as a regular 3 hours a week. So if for some reason this is not possible for you to take the class this August and fall, there's a second round chance the following term.
Yes, it counts as a credit. I hope we've answered the questions that we really can. They're going to be.
Oh, there's a question. Can we drop the course at the beginning without any consequences? Typically, for any course that you take, there's a drop add period. I'm not exactly sure what the dates are right now because we're kind of not a summer course and we're not a fall course. But since there's no fee associated with it, yes, of course you can drop it probably at any time.
You just wouldn't receive the credit for it.
Right.
During the 3-day intensive, the day broken up? Absolutely, Chanel. Yep. So we have all kinds of activities. There are times that are offline. There's a lunch break. It's not straight. So for example, you'll be invited to do a private fitness class either in the morning or in the evening. You will come together as a whole community and we'll do a check-in. We will do a couple of lectures, some on Diana's expertise, the thriving strategies. We'll do some on mind learning strategies. They're short. You will have the opportunity to work on the formative assignments, those small kind of get your feet wet assignments. Together, they're independent, but together you'll be in small breakouts to kind of meet people, connect. You'll have lunch on your own. We give the opportunity to walk if you wish and listen to a podcast. We come back, have discussion. We do a little bit of movement together. We do a mindfulness practice together. Another different type of break is you'll get the career, that propel section, the get to know a little bit about what it means to start thinking about and reflect about your career in arts. So that's what the day will look like. A big yes, it's not straight. And the course is every day for those 3 days only, the 19th, 20th, and 21st of August. You will be receiving a schedule, absolutely, totally. You will have access to D2L. Di, do you have any idea when they would be able to access the D2L?
We're going to know that more later this afternoon, okay. I think. Okay. But there is a question here. Is the course every day for 3 weeks in a 6-hour independent exploration? No. So after August 21st at 5 p.m. until the term starts in September 8th or 9th, depending whatever the class is, that's your independent study. So we're asking you to spend about 2 hours a week to engage in certain activities and to write some of your assignments. And you do that asynchronously, which means at your own time, at your own pace. We're recommending 2 hours a week, and you will get 6 hours of your course done in those 3 weeks. There is an email address for one person who's kind of doing a lot of the administrative components to questions for this course. And we will make sure that the organizers of this event have that email address so that you can ask all of those questions.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's SSH102 at Ryerson, but I'm not 100% sure. So
somebody put it, Paloma put it, I think earlier, somebody has access. So that's great. If you can write that again. And I see that there's another question to me around when you'll know that you're enrolled. If you could, there's no way for me to see, I don't think, specific students. Do you know, Diana, can we see on that what we have? Is there a chart of specific students?
No, it's just by program and year at this stage.
So what I'd rather is if anyone is registered and they're like, oh gosh, have I actually? I'm not sure. Oh, Rama, that you wrote that to me privately. Can you broadcast the SSH 102 for everyone? Perfect, thanks. If anyone isn't sure, but they want to double check, is if you could email Rama here or Natasha, I'm not sure if you could specify who would be the best person to contact. Give them your name, and then we can connect you with the folks who are handling that back end. We don't see it, we just see the overall numbers. But we're quite a team here of folks working on making this course come alive and ready for you starting in a few weeks. Okay, so if you're not sure, if you've already registered, send Rama your name, and we can just, she'll compile a list, Rama, you can compile a list for us, and we can send that to Chris Erickson and double check that you indeed, but if you put your email in, then you're good to go.
And always use your Ryerson email when you're corresponding about Ryerson.
They don't have it yet, Di. They don't. No, so your personal emails are fine for now if you don't have a Ryerson email. And that's great, Chanel, that's so helpful. You received a confirmation. Perfect. So make sure you check your inbox and you check your junk. Zoe, if you go to the bit.ly link that I just put up, and I'll put it here again, that will take you to that link. Let me just get it up here again. Yeah, here, I'll put it in for everybody, and that is going to take you.
And Rama actually put in the web page, which has the same.
Oh,
links.
Good, yeah. Great. Just go there. Perfect. That's if you go to that. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll share my screen again for everybody, and you can see then what it looks like if you haven't been already. And then we'll say goodbye. But here's what it looks like. So you can see that what Rama just put in, that's the website. So you can read all about it. So the same kind of details about what we'll be teaching. Key topics, here are our learning outcomes. There's that rhythm again. So if you're wondering, oh God, how do the hours break down? There they are. So basically it's half in those 3 days, and then half between the 3 weeks of independent learning, and then an hour a week for the fall semester. Here's how to register. So they have a Google form. Okay, so you see how it's not through RAMS because it's ahead of schedule. Hope that makes that clear. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Hope that gives you a visual.
We are so excited that some of you, if not all of you, are planning to join us. Clearly there's a lot of interest. We're delighted. And we really look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And if not, then possibly in the winter term. So we want to wish you all the best. And we're so excited for you to be starting at Ryerson. Welcome.
And if any of you are feeling a bit panicked in this moment, I'm trying to click on it and I can't. This is a great moment of like deep practice of patience, because this is what we're all facing right now. All of these absurd tech glitches. You will 100% be allowed in. Chanel, thanks for including that email address. Exactly. If you write to that email, say, wait a minute, I'm trying and I can't get in. Chris, our colleague, is on the other side of that email, and he's so responsive, and he will write you back being like, no problem, this is what you do. Okay. If you didn't catch that, connect with Rama, connect with Natasha, connect with Palumi, connect with these amazing folks here who've hosted you, and we'll all get it sorted. And thank you so much. We look so forward to seeing you in just a few weeks for our intensive, and to really being on a journey together from mid-August through to December. What joy. Thanks for spending this summer afternoon with us. It's such a gift. And congratulations again. Wishing you all the very best, whether you join us or not. Wishing all the best.
All the best. Take good care,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.